Are you watching the local news with these growing foreclosures? I'm going to bring up a video clip to a longer video in just a little bit. You'll want to see about the near end of this FHA foreclosure moratorium after nearly 5 years and how the foreclosure inventory is on the way and how big it could be. You be the judge though, you'll be able to connect the dots. And I'll talk to you after the videos to be able to explain how I think that has a lot to do with both sides of the market, motivated sellers and motivated investor buyers who are buying through like the haves and wants section of MNREIA that's on the first Tuesday of every month. It's the investor community and how it works. And there's investors that want to buy, but there's also motivated sellers out there. And if you know that there's growing foreclosures out there, then there's opportunity, right? There's short sales, there's assignments, there's wholesaling, there's discounts, there's knowing what deals to do and what deals not to do, building size up the deals. So let's go into that clip now.
Money matters to us, and tonight there are new signs the economy has homeowners struggling. Foreclosures have increased for the 8th month in a row nationwide.
Callan Gray is here with how Minnesota ranks and what you can do now if you find yourself at risk. Callan?
A mortgage expert I talked to today tells me Minnesota is doing better than other states, coming in at 31 on the list of 50 states. Overall nationwide, there were more than 36,000 foreclosure filings last month, a 3% increase from a month ago and a 19% increase compared to last year.
Before we move on to more of the conventional side of things with Fannie and Freddie, what do you think, because suppression of this data has been so important, let's just say, for the last thing that they've wanted in the last 5 years at Washington is to see foreclosures. I mean, it was obvious. I mean, they did everything that they could to prevent them, and I get it. I mean, it's no one wants to watch people losing their house.
Right.
But that has really created its own sort of problems. There are a lot of people that are staying in their houses that can't afford to be there, and the distress in these houses, that's really climbing. I'm starting to see it now with going out and looking at houses with clients, and things aren't being fixed. And what will happen? I mean, if they made this waterfall, sort of ended the waterfall, making it so that now you cannot get a remodification except for every 2 years, and you have to make 3 monthly consecutive payments in order to qualify for it. Well, if they're not making their payments, it's going to be almost impossible. It was like in the beginning when they did this, had this mortgage moratorium, they were like, well, how are we going to do it? So we'll say, okay, you don't have to make your payment, but then by the 3rd month or the 4th month, you have to make a lump sum payment. And they're like, well, that's not going to work, because if they haven't been able to make their payment every month, they're sure not going to be able to pay 4 months at one time in 4 months. So what is your expectation here with what will happen to these borrowers that are still struggling to pay their mortgage now that their partial claims have basically been eliminated, or at least one time in a 2-year period?
Yeah. So immediately they get one last shot, right? Their one every 2 years doesn't count anything before October 1st. So they get one last shot, but they have to make the 3 trial payments in order to get that. So this, Todd, is where the kind of the great shakeout in the data is. They're doing 360,000 or so of these partial claims a year. Half of them are going to repeat recipients. Like a third or a quarter of them are going to, it's like they're on their third partial claim or more. So there's a couple 100,000, ultimately, a couple 100,000 loans. My rough estimate is, 250, but, could be as high as 400,000 loans, where there's, some significant distress, or has been, some significant distress, as evidenced by the fact that they've needed these claims or they've gotten them. And that's going to shake out, because you're right. Like, there were there's a basically to get foreclosed on in an FHA loan over the last 4 to 5 years, you had to either A, abandon the property, or B, completely ghost your servicer and never talk to them. But so long as you did, then there was always a loss mitigation option for you. Because even when the partial claims ran out, they would give you a loan modification, even if it raised the payment, and they'd keep giving them to you, like loan modifications that made no sense. And with all of that stopping, you get one last shot. And if you're not able to make the trial payments, then those folks will go, they will fall out of, retention, loss mitigation, and they'll be down the disposition path, which is, forced sale / short sale, if they have equity, or potentially deed in lieu or foreclosure, if they do not.
Now, Fannie and Freddie have been bundling up non-performing notes and re-performing notes. I think they're on their 8th or 9th round of this. And a lot of these pools are thousands, tens of thousands of loans. They're not hitting the retail market.
Wow, that's really something that John Kaminsky really knows his data. You really want to see the full video with all the data, because you want to see how explosive these FHA foreclosures are after 5 years of a moratorium, and how September 30th was the end. That's when the big change was, that maybe you'll see every couple years or so now. The people have certain rules. They got to make the 3 payments, and some of them have done 13 or 14 of these over all of the years. It's really going to be important that you be an expert, or at least learn from the right experts and how to identify them in the foreclosure process. As an investor buyer who doesn't want to make any big mistakes and waste a lot of years and tens of thousands of dollars in money, you're going to want to learn about this stuff. A few things. You can watch the video for starters. You can do a little bit of research on it. There's going to be a haves and wants section the first Tuesday of every month at MNREIA, and you're going to learn from the other investors, from the community, from connecting. And just to give you an example on the foreclosure process, there's a lot of creativity when there's a few payments behind before the sheriff's sale. Who knows, maybe you want to do contract for deed, maybe you want to do subject to, maybe you want to catch up some of the initial back payments. Maybe it's a good fix and flip situation. But in these situations where there's silent seconds and there's stuff tacked onto the back of the loan, may even be a lot of them, liens tacked on the back of the loan, it's important to do a title search. It's important not to waste years and years of your life and tens of thousands of dollars making payments and taking over payments on these properties when there maybe is no equity on these properties. You could pay way too much for it, especially on a fix and flip. So it's important that you be part of a connected community that is educated in foreclosures. And there's definitely some people in that community at MNREIA on the first Tuesday within the haves and wants section who've been doing foreclosures for a very long time. I can tell you for sure there's some people there. So it's very important, the FHA moratorium. You're going to see it all over the news now. You're going to see it growing a lot. You haven't been seeing it for the last 5 years, but pay very close attention to it. I'm going to leave a link on how to get a free pass for the first-time people for the haves and wants section on this first Tuesday. Look at the link below.